We're ready to start preparing for our negotiation, and we know we want to fill out our wish, want, walk framework. So, what do we think about when we're filling that framework out? Well, spoiler alert, it's not all about the salary. There are actually three different components that you want to consider when you're making your wish, want, walk. There is certainly salary or the compensation that you're going to receive for the job. But the other two categories that get overlooked often are the flexibility of the job and the culture of the job. So let's talk about all three of those, starting with salary. When you're going to be asking for a certain amount of money for your work, you have to start by understanding what your market value is. So many people come into my office and they're trying to negotiate, but they really just don't have any idea what their worth is. If you're coming in with more experience or if you're a new grad, it really does matter and it influences how much you should be asking for when you're doing your negotiations. And it's not just about years of experience. There are a lot of things to consider when you're looking at that compensation package. First, you have to think about what is the type of work that I'm interviewing for or the type of work that I'm doing. For example, if you work at a SNF, you're going to make more money than if you work at like a private practice outpatient facility. And that's because generally people find working at a SNF less desirable. And so those jobs pay more. So you want to think about what is the type of work that I'm doing? What is the size of company that I'm looking to work for? It does make a difference if it's a small mom and pop versus it's a well-established hospital setting. And then also, what's the location of the place that I want to work at? Am I looking at some place that's in a rural area? Is it very urban? I live in California, and I know just by going from San Bernardino County to Los Angeles County, there's a big jump in the amount of money that you can make, or the difference between Los Angeles and Orange County. So you really need to consider not just what's the general pay for people in California doing this job, but what's the pay for people in LA County that are working at a hospital with 2,000 employees? So getting into that detail level is very important when you're trying to establish what the market value is. How do you get this information? There's actually several different ways you can do it, but I need to tell you, this isn't a quick thing. This isn't something you're going to like take care of while you're sitting on the couch, drinking a glass of wine and watching The Bachelor and just kind of browsing on your computer. No, that's not going to do it. You're going to need to set aside time and really spend some effort in researching what the market value is for the job that you want or the job that you have. And I suggest always you start at Google because Google has a lot of answers. I really like the website payscale.com. They incorporate a lot of different details into the search so that you can put all of those little specific things that I was talking about earlier in and get a more specific estimate of what the market value is. Also, there's a really good website called salary.com and glassdoor.com. So I recommend you check out all of those. And then depending on what state you live in, there may be salary transparency laws in place. Again, in California, just recently, they passed a law where it requires employees to post what the salary range is for the job position that they're advertising for. And that really makes it easier to start to understand what your market value is. But you do have to keep in mind, even if you're looking at something like that, where it's a job posting and it has a salary range, that's the range. Everyone assumes that they're going to be at the top of that range. And that's just not the case. Keep in mind that probably the top of that range is going to be the most experienced people and also people that are working per diem. Per diem is where it's like not a guarantee. They call you when they need you. And so they pay you more money. So when you're looking at the range, you just need to have clear eyes and not overestimate, but also don't underestimate what you're worth. So you want to really spend time researching those elements, taking notes, either if you're old school and you love paper, or if you're like me and you love a spreadsheet, putting that data in and starting to understand what should the salary wish, want, walk be based on the market value. Now, on top of market value, you have to consider your own circumstances. What are your bills? What do you need to make in order to realistically live the life that you're expecting? So you might really love a facility, but you have $100,000 in student loan debt that you have to pay back. You have to keep that in mind, and that has to play into how you form your wish, want, and walk. And also considering the fact that there are special programs. For example, I work for a nonprofit hospital. And if you work for a nonprofit for a certain number of years, you can get some of your student loan debt forgiven. So that might be something you consider when you're making your wish, want, walk for a specific job. Do you have to keep in mind your student loan debt? Are you hoping to get some of that forgiven because it's a nonprofit? These are all the little details that you have to work through as you're preparing for that salary aspect of the negotiation. Another thing that people don't consider is that salary offers come in different formats. You might be offered an hourly job where you get paid per hour, but the hours aren't guaranteed. You might be offered a salary job where they tell you this is the amount you're going to make every year, regardless of how many hours you make a week. You could be offered a per client job, and that's every client you see, you get paid this amount. But if the client no shows, or if you just don't book a client, then you don't get paid. And all of those offers are very different from each other. So the next video, we're going to talk about how to look at these different types of offers and make it where you're comparing apples to apples. How can you make it so that the comparison is fair and really makes sense? So that's the next video. But first, spend some time on your computer, do the research, create a list, whether it's on paper or on your screen, and understand what the market value is for your current state. All right, I'll see you soon, and let's get talking about how to make comparisons on various offers.